Hi, this is a video of the Second World War and it is made by Mateo Gutierrez and Sebastián Tirado. Hope you enjoy it.
On September the 1st, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. This is the war action that really started the Second World War. This is the most devastating war that humanity has ever known. But to understand how this point was reached, we must go back years, at least to the end of the First World War. The Versailles Treaty had ended the Great War, and Greater Germany had already been badly damaged after losing territory and imposing the disproportionate compensation that the Germans had to pay to the victors. They needed a leader to guide them as a people and to remind them of past times. That's why a guy like Hitler appears, a frustrated painter who knew how to channel the anger and longings of an entire country. If one can say something good about a villain like him, is that he was a great orator and a master of propaganda. He told the Germans of the superiority of his race and the path that the people had to follow in order to magnify it. Hitler by speech was chosen as the leader of the Germans Workers' Party, transforming it into the German National Socialist Party of the racist, supremacist, nationalist ideas and a strong anti-Semitic and anti-Marxist component. In 1923, Hitler ended up in jail after a failed coup. In his confinement, he took the opportunity to write the Mein Kampf, book of poor quality that would end up being the gospel of Nazism. After his imprisonment, Hitler returned to politics and he would end up winning in 1932 a simple majority election to rise as Chancellor of the Germans. The next year, the Third Great German Empire was born in the middle of economic crisis worldwide quickly under an appearance of legality. Hitler established a totalitarian regime, liquidating the instructions democratic republics of Weimar. To the purists of the Communist Party of Germany and were locked up in concentration camps. The persecution of the Jews, Nazism, becomes an active policy. Hitler ignores the obligation that for Germany indicated the Versailles Treaty, creating a strong military state. With weak protests from France and England in 1938, he began to implement his policy of territorial expansions by incorporating Austria into his domains. That same year, Hitler threatened to start in European war unless the southeast, a border area of Czechoslovakia, with a majority of German ethnicity, they were transferred to Germany. To settle the matter, they sat down to speak in Munich German, French, English, and Italian, but the Czechoslovaks were not invited. The British Prime Minister Chamberlain and his French counterpart, in an act of cowardice, they yelled, "As long as the blood does not continue." The following year, Hitler breaks his word and occupies the rest of Czechoslovakia. Churchill harshly criticized Chamberlain with the phrase, "We have preferred dishonor to war. We will have dishonor and also war." And this is how Hitler goes for Poland. It was a country emerged from the Versailles Treaty. These lands had previously belonged to Russia, Germany, and Austria. The Polish people had been granted a strip of land so that the country had an outlet to the Baltic Sea through the Danzig corridor. On August 2nd, 1939, the communist Stalin and the anti-communist Hitler, two totalitarian leaders, surprised the world with the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact.
Second World War consequence. The consequences of Second World War have been multiple and in various files. For example, from this day end up creating institutions designed to prevent new crimes against humanity from arising and that today survive. Among the main consequences we find the following. Human casualties. The most important and serious consequence of the conflict was the large number of human losses, quantifying at least 50 millions of deaths. A large majority of these victims were civilians, and their deaths were not only due to direct action of the armies, crossfire, bombing, genocide, or persecution, but also due to the famine, loss of homes, and poverty that followed war. But beyond the victims generated by the war, this war also include the systematic persecution and elimination of large population groups through concentration camps and other forms of extermination by the Nazis. Its main objective in this regard was the Jewish people, estimated at around 6 million citizens killed for belonging to this group. Other victims of persecution and murder were homosexuals, gypsies, and communists, as well as artists, intellectuals, and all of those whom the government considered a threat to society, including men, women, and children of any age. The disabled and people with mental disorders were also targeted for elimination. Creation of United Nations and Declaration of Human Rights. After the end of the war and anticipation that other similar events could occur, an international conference will be formed in which around 50 countries will participate and which will end up generating the current one. United Nations organization replacing the file League of Nations established after the First World War. The United Nations will therefore emerge with the aim of maintaining international peace, causing positive and friendly relations between the countries, sponsoring international cooperation, and promoting the efforts of the different nations to achieve the purpose. In December of 1948, they would publish the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which stipulates 30 articles that establishes the basic rights of all human beings, which must be respected at the international level. Economic repercussions and reconstruction. The Second World War was a very violent conflict with a great impact of entire fabric of society, including the economy and even urban areas. And it is that during the war, many cities were practically wiped off the map, For example, losing Warsaw about 80% of its buildings and having to be rebuilt. In addition to this, communication and European industry, with the exception of arms, which had a great development, had fallen, something that would be generate a high level of poverty. Goods and services practically disappeared. Agriculture also suffered. Many crops were lost, and in some territories, the fields were even riddled with mines. This caused famine and caused an even higher number of deaths. Fortunately, the United States would approve the so-called Marshall Plan, which contributed to alleviating the state of post-war Europe and regenerating its economy. Creation of the two big blocs, USA and USSR. Despite the large number of lives lost, countries like United States managed to make the end of the war favorable for them, managing to become the greatest power in the world. Likewise, the Soviet Union managed to annex a many numbers of territories, despite the fact that its economy will never be as good as that of the United States. With the European powers practically destroyed, they would end up constituting two large blocks of countries, either annexed or allied, that would generate two clearly differentiated and eventually confronted ideological blocs, represented by the two remaining superpowers, the capitalistic bloc headed by United States and Communist of USSR. Mainly, the First World comprised most Western European countries, while the second would occupy most of Eastern Europe. Border change and creation of states of Israel. The end of the war brought about the restructuring of the borders of many countries, as well as the creation of some new ones. For example, Germany will be divided into four blocks corresponding to Russia, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. Russia annexed Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, along with the part of Germany and Poland. Austria and Czechoslovakia became independent again, as did Albania. China will recover from Japan all its territories occupied during the war. Italy will lose all its colonies. The United States will keep part of Germany, numerous islands in the Pacific. Korea will be divided in North and South. Begin the first Soviet and the second American. In addition to this and other change, probably the most relevant and well known is the creation of the State of Israel, begin given to Jewish people a part of the territory that until then belonged to Palestine and including the city of Jerusalem, despite the fact that since then there have been great conflicts between Israel and Palestine. Thank you.